What if I told you? The most popular rapture teaching in modern Christianity is based on a misunderstood wedding custom. They told you Jesus is coming before the tribulation, to secretly snatch his bride away and throw a 7-year honeymoon in heaven while the world burns. But that's not in the Bible, and it's not even how first-century Jewish weddings worked. In ancient Jewish culture, the wedding began with a betrothal. The bride and groom were legally pledged, a covenant was made, and a price was paid by the groom to the bride's family. After that, the groom would leave to prepare a place for his bride, usually a room added onto his father's house. Then, at an unexpected hour, often around midnight, the groom would return with a shout and the blast of a trumpet, taking his bride back to his father's house. Yes, Jesus mirrored this when he said, "In my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. I will come again and receive you to myself." John 14:2-3. But modern pre-tribulation rapture teachers claim this wedding picture proves Jesus will return before the tribulation, that he'll take the church to heaven to avoid suffering. The problem? That's not how the Jewish wedding worked. And it's not what Jesus taught. The groom didn't come early. He came after a time of waiting, after the bride had prepared herself and after a long delay. Jesus illustrated this in his own parable. At midnight a cry was heard, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming, go out to meet him." Matthew 25:4-6. And when describing his return, he said, "Immediately after the tribulation of those days where he will send his angels, and they will gather his elect from the four winds." Matthew 24:29-31. Not before tribulation. After still not convinced, Paul warned the church clearly, "Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed." 2 Thessalonians 2:3. That day, the coming of Jesus and our gathering to him, verse 1, won't happen until the Antichrist rises. But wait, doesn't Paul also say we're not appointed to wrath? Yes, and that's absolutely true. For God hath not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Jesus Christ. 1 Thessalonians 5. So how do we reconcile that? We must separate tribulation from wrath. Tribulation is what Jesus promised his followers would face. "In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world." John 16:33. Of course, we know this speaks to tribulation in general, persecution, trials, hardship throughout the church age. In Matthew 24, when the disciples asked what signs would precede his return and the end of the world, Jesus didn't describe an escape plan. He described betrayal, persecution, deception, and a time of such intense distress that unless those days were shortened, no flesh would survive. "Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." Matthew 24:9. He wasn't speaking to unbelievers. He was warning his followers. Believers have faced tribulation from the beginning, and we will face it again in the end. The final tribulation isn't wrath, it's pressure, testing, and purification. The wrath of God, however, is something entirely different, and it doesn't begin until later. In Revelation 6, we see war, famine, persecution, martyrdom, cosmic upheaval, all under the first 6 seals. The saints cry out beneath the altar for justice. Then the world realizes what's coming and cries out, "Hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who shall be able to stand?" Revelation 6:16-17. At this point, the wrath of God is just arriving, not already in effect. In Revelation 7, the 144,000 are sealed for protection, and a great multitude of believers appears before the throne, those who came out of great tribulation, Revelation 7:14. Then finally, in Revelation 8, Jesus opens the 7th seal, and that's when the trumpet judgments begin. That's when wrath is poured out. Just before this, Isaiah saw a vision of Jesus trampling the nations in fury. "I have trodden the winepress alone. I looked, but there was no one to help. So my own arm brought salvation to me, and my wrath sustained me." Isaiah 63:3-5. He will have just finished judging the wicked around Jerusalem. Only then will the wrath of God fall upon the earth. So yes, the church will see tribulation, even great tribulation. But no, the church will not suffer the wrath of God.